everybody. I'd like to thank you for coming. My name is Stiv Ostenberg, and I am the Community Outreach Officer for the Southern Peninsula Emergency Communication System in the San Francisco Bay Area. Several years ago, due to an unfortunate hand-raising incident, I ended up on the board for the club, and I decided, instead of doing the job that they asked me to do, which was running the annual flea market, I was going to solve the problem that I saw in the club, which was, I looked around the boardroom and said, okay, we're all old, therefore ham radio has 20 years to live because that's how long we're going to be around. And that's a problem we need to solve. So I've been a sales engineer all my life. My job was solving problems. So I started taking a look at what was happening in amateur radio and what we could do to fix it. So I set a series of goals for myself. What do I need to do? I need to generate interest in amateur radio. People are not coming to us. You know, you've got a radio in your pocket that you can talk around the world on already. Why do you need amateur radio? It's not something, you know, talking to somebody in China isn't a novelty anymore. You can do that anytime. We need to keep our new hams engaged. Once we get a new ham, as part of supporting this flea market, I've been talking to a lot of people who got their license and then never did anything, and I started getting information from them about why they're not doing anything. And the number one reason is they went out, they said, I'm a new ham. I got my new radio, I'm so excited. Hello, hello. Hello? Hello? That. It's my voice. Are we drawing too much power? Me or the speaker? Oh, okay. 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 Like I was saying, they get frustrated. They're talking on the radio. They finally get a response. This is the W6 ASH repeater. Use a PL tone of 100 hertz. Hello? Then they reach the conclusion, there's nobody here. There's, you know, ham radio's dead. This ends up in their junk drawer, their PCB cycle is gone, and we've lost them as an amateur radio operator. What I found, our club was not very active. I'm kind of breaking the mold here, but what I found when I started going to all the clubs in my area, talking to them about, you know, my thought is we need to work together to solve these problems. And all the clubs that I went to, the club officers are overloaded. There's usually one or two people that are handling all the load for the club. They're getting overloaded and they can't quit. And what can we do about that? I thought we need to distribute the workload. You know, all these clubs are duplicating effort. If we can consolidate some of that effort into a shared resource, we can accomplish a lot more. And the last thing, and the most important, we need to get out of the shack. We need to get out in front of people where they can see us operating, see us having a good time, and we need to make the case that amateur radio is good for them. So, my solution to solve the problems, as you can see here, I had a threefold solution. One was using meetup.com to publish amateur radio events and to aggregate all the ham radio events in the area into one location so it's easier for people to find. You know, hams that are really excited are willing to travel all the way across the county to find an event. If, you know, I'm a new ham and my local club is giving a presentation on fast 48 transforms and digital signal processing for software-defined radios, and I'm in New Ham, but the guys across the way are saying, hey, we're going to show you how to do a POTA activation. They will drive all the way across town to see that. So what I decided to do, my club agreed to fund meetup.com. If you're not familiar with Meetup, I highly recommend you go there. Meetup is a social media site, social networking site, where you create an account for a special interest. Now, I added one for ham radio, but there's special interest groups for people that are quilters, people that are hikers, people that like bowling. Whatever interest you have, somebody's probably created a Meetup group, and you tell it where you live, and it will show you all the things that are happening around you that are related to your interests. So.
KI7Y is
Sorry about that. So, the other advantage with meetup.com, what I found is, as a club, you have, let me use the Palo Alto Club, the friendliest club around, probably the most active in the area that I patrol. They have 2 or 3 events a year. Now, if you're in New Ham, do you want to wait 2 or 3 months? You want something happening all the time. By aggregating all the events in one place, they see a lot more opportunities and they see a lot more life in amateur radio. But the other thing is, it's not only visible to ham radio operators. If I put an event on my club, only people that attend my club or are interested in the club are going to find out about it. If I post it on Meetup, my event appears in front of people saying, what is there to do this weekend? And if they keep seeing amateur radio events coming up on that calendar, they might decide to drop in one day. And that helps us. What I'm also doing, what I mentioned earlier about sharing resources with other clubs, is Specs, my club, is funding the Meetup group, but we've made an offer to any club in our area or to any Elmer in our area. If they're willing to host events, we will give them access to this Meetup site. We will pay the cost for it, and they can create the events. And I think if we all get together and make more events happen, we're going to see more hams come up and join us. I'll talk about an event that I'm starting up now a little later. The second item I had was Groups.io. I was trying to set up a common communication hub so I could organize people from all the different clubs to do events. It's crossed out now. That didn't work. Nobody wanted to sign up. Everybody said, I get too much email already. I don't want more. So I've crossed that off the list. The last item I have here is something called the Master Ham Project. Now, this is not really something exciting, but what I found, I tend to be a pack rat. I collect information. I download amateur radio manuals, I download amateur radio software, I download presentations, and I collect them all on my OneDrive, and I realized, other people might be interested in this. So I created a file share out on the internet. Somebody from the Palo Alto Club agreed to host it on their FTP server, so anybody can connect to that site, browse through all this different amateur radio software that's out there and try it out. I try to keep it up to date. So a ham in Santa Clara County that's in emergency communication can say, just make a link between this FTP server and a local drive on my folder, and it will automatically update them with all the latest information and the latest software packages out there. And it's a great way for new hams just to kind of explore what's available for them. So that's available to anybody. It's available all over the world, so you're welcome to use it. So the first step I had using the Meetup group in phase 1 was driving club participation. Like I said, my club isn't very active. We're probably, the Palo Alto Club bills itself as the friendliest club around. Our club, probably the most boring club around. We have one event a year, which is our annual meeting. We do one fundraising event a year, and we run a weekly net, which is just a roll call. It's not very exciting for new hams. So I need other clubs if I'm going to drive more interest in amateur radio. And what I need to do is start getting all the clubs in my area to start participating in the Meetup. So what I mentioned earlier, the Meetup, you can see here, there's a calendar here. Look at all the events going on for this month. That looks a lot more interesting than if you see, my club has an event next month. This shows all sorts of things happening. And there's little pictures, the Millbrae Amateur Radio Club, there's the Palo Alto, there's the Radio Wave Wednesday. So all these events are happening. I created most of them by going to their website and finding it. What I'm trying to do is talk clubs into, you need to post your own events, so if people reply to you, you get the contact. These are all potential members for you. And it also means if you make a change to the event, you can go and change it yourself, and I don't end up out of sync with what's actually happening, which is a bad experience for new ham. You know, we need to keep the experiences really good for our new hams if we're going to retain them. So what I'm trying to do also is tell the clubs, you need to get your members to sign up for your events. So if we looked at the Palo Alto event going on last week, you'd see there's probably 3 or 4 people signed up. If you go to the meeting, there's probably 30 or 40 people there. Now, if a new ham is going out to attend an event and they see there's only 3 or 4 people going, they're gonna say, oh, that's gonna be awkward. This isn't a popular club, I'm not gonna go. But if they see 30 people going, they're more likely to come out there. So this is again what I was talking about, the perception of amateur radio. We have to be seen to participate. People have to see us going. We're herd animals. We like working with other people, and getting other clubs to participate in the meetup is my phase 1. The phase 2 is talking not just to the clubs, but you don't need to be a club to have an event. You can just be an individual ham, like me. I'm hosting several events. I'm not the most experienced ham out there, but I've held several events that turned out to be very popular, even though I thought they were pretty basic. I held one event that was a packet radio event, saying, come on down, there's a weekly packet check-in. Come down, I'll put you on my radio and walk you through doing a packet check-in. And I had 5 other operators show up with their packet stations, set up at, operating off-grid, and do demos for about 30 people who actually came by to watch the demo. And that just came together. It all started because I went and created the event and said, come and join me, and people came out. So kind of taking the initiative and stepping out there is a big step towards driving more participation, and again, to bringing in new members and getting more excitement going behind amateur radio. And the last step, this is what I was telling you about earlier, I'm trying to take this one step farther. I've been to the club meetings for all the clubs in my area. They've all seen my presentation, what I'm trying to get going. They still need some motivation. They're starting to show up now. What I decided to do is create a monthly event called Ham Radio University. And the idea is the #1 goal is to take a new ham and get them on the air. I'm trying to put together a course curriculum. So if anybody out here is a teacher or an instructor, there's lesson plans for how to teach something. I'd like to put together basic lesson plans for how to teach a new ham and get them through the basics. What I consider the basics, learning about the local clubs and why different clubs have different purposes and what club might be best for you. Work with the new hams and direct them to the clubs that's going to suit them best. We need to teach them how to program their radio, how to get on the different frequencies, get on the repeaters. They need to know about nets, because your radio is useless if I'm talking on the W6 Ash repeater at 6 a.m. on a Monday. There's nobody there. Unless you're there Monday night, it's dead. And people get frustrated because they don't know that. Next thing, Echolink. It's a great resource for people to connect into a local repeater. Even if they don't have a radio, or if their radio's not working well, they can still participate. There's a 9 a.m. talk net, runs Monday through Friday, 9 till noon. So it's not something you wait for, it's always there, and there's friendly people there. In fact, the lady who hosts the event on Thursdays is Pink, who's actually a member of a club down here in Arizona. So it helps us build community. I'm posting to Echolink stations that are from my local area, because my idea is I want people to find somebody that they're talking to on the radio to say, hey, I can drive over and help you. Let's build community. We need more face-to-face interaction. It turns out I've had 2 events so far. The first event was kind of scary. I showed up there by myself, and 4 new hams showed up, and I couldn't talk to all of them at once. Fortunately, a couple people from some other clubs came by to see what I was doing, and they took the new hams, went off with them, and helped them. Once we got all the new hams going, they were all excited. They came back the next month, and the members of the clubs, once the new hams got all they want and went home, a lot of the members of these clubs, the president of WVARA, the vice president of PARA, showed up for the event. They had never met each other, and they got to sit talking about what are the problems we face as a club, what do we need to do, and how can we fix it. And those are the dialogues we need. We're not out there alone. Club officers to feel like, I'm overwhelmed, there's nobody out here. We give them a chance to work together. Working with their compatriots in other clubs helps all of us do better. Scott, I mentioned, with the WVARA club, had a discussion with the membership of their club saying, okay, we're losing members. Does anybody know why that is? And somebody said, yeah, when did we just become a group of old men that meet once a month to watch a PowerPoint deck? And that kind of struck, what I was trying to accomplish is that, yes, what we need are events where we're out operating with each other face to face and doing Elmering and actually making social connections with other hams. I think this is key to getting ahead. The other thing I want to do is train Elmers to teach. Now, my wife has a degree in education. I've learned a lot from her. I have a lot more to learn. But when we have a new ham come in, actually having a lesson plan that we can hand out to people to say, here is how you teach a new ham. These are the topics, these are how you do it, this is what they should know at the end of the class, all this stuff. I want to create the lesson plan, and then I need to start teaching people in every club, how do you use these lesson plans to teach. A new ham coming in, like I said, new ham walks in and says the presentation is fast Fourier transform, digital signal processing, software defined radios. We're going to lose them. And that's what they get at a lot of the clubs. The clubs are very friendly. They welcome the new hams. We're glad to see you, but they don't help them. They don't program their radios. They don't tell them about nets. The new ham says, oh, I'm really happy. I go home and I'm still looking at a radio that I can't use. We need to fix that, and I'm trying to help the clubs around my area by training them. This is what we can do to get your new hams excited and to get them coming back to us. Like I mentioned, Groups.io is a failed effort so far. Maybe if I get more energy going around radio in the area, we'll start doing that again, but not now. The Master Ham Project, like I said, this was something I put together just to share information. You can see, I've got folders for manuals, radio configurations, reference software packages, presentations. I think another thing that we can do, there's a lot of presentations. There's summits on the air, parks on the air. We should start making those, publishing those, and making them available to clubs. Now, this presentation, this is just a slide deck. There's a notes page behind us that explains everything I'm trying to accomplish with this slide. And every slide deck I produce, I try and produce that so that somebody who needs to deliver this presentation can see what I'm doing. And I'm sharing those presentations. I'd like to see more people do that. Let's start building up a library. So if a club says, we're having a club meeting next month, hey, let's just download a presentation. Somebody can walk through it, figure out how it works. And again, we have an opportunity to train new hams on something that might be useful. And I've gotten feedback, stuff that I thought all the other people in the group knew this stuff and I was just an idiot. It's like log files. How do you manage an ADIF file? What do you do with it? And I went to a meeting and said, hey, I would really like if there was a class telling me about what all these log files are, what you do with them, and everybody said, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'd like to see that myself. And I said, oh, okay, so that's in my court now. I need to try and figure that out and put it together. But again, these are resources that we should all have, and clubs trying to create a presentation themselves every time instead of creating a shared pool of files is causing us to waste effort. It's making it more hassle for the club officers who are already overloaded. And I'm putting the stuff I got up here. I'm inviting people to contribute or to take the stuff I've got and use it however you like. I'd like to see more stuff out there. I need to go to the ARL copyrights all their stuff. I don't like to do that. I like it to be freely available so anybody who's promoting ham can do it. So, the more ideas section, this was something I got by talking to all the different clubs about ideas they had. New licensee postcards. The Palo Alto Amateur Radio Club said, hey, we're just going to monitor the FCC. We're to go through lists of all the newly licensed hams, and if they're in our area, we're going to send them a postcard inviting them to join the club. And that sounds like a great idea. They said they sent out hundreds of postcards. They had 2 people show up. Was that effective? We don't know. Discord and Slack. If you're not aware of Discord and Slack are a chat application for people to communicate with each other on the various subjects. And a lot of the younger generation lives on Discord and chat. That's how they communicate. If a club sets up a Discord or chat server, you're going to be more attractive to younger hams. The trick there is you have to take us older hams. Well, I'm familiar with it, but you have to train them to speak the language of the new generation. We have to use the tools that they're comfortable with and they're familiar with, and we have to go to them instead of waiting for them to come to us. I was looking to ARRL trying to say, hey, can they help us? Would they set up a deal with an internet web hosting provider? Because another common problem is all these clubs need to have a webmaster, and they're all trying to use a free web hosting service, which means your website really looks kind of dated or out of date. I try and do feedback to the clubs, but do you have the expertise to have a back-end database and a dynamic content server and all this? No. But if we can get ARL to, let's set something up, let's have a standardized club template that has the tools a club needs, then you only need to train one person who knows how to manage this, and they might be able to support several clubs. Again, working together, I think we can accomplish more. The Elmer tools, that's what I was talking about earlier, putting together lesson plans, presentations, other people to work with. And the other thing, too many clubs rely on field day as their event for the year. And I think we need to get beyond field day. Speaking, I can't speak for your clubs. The club I went to, the first field day, they said, come to our field day. I said, oh, great. He said, oh, good, you're coming. Why don't you be the GOTA co-captain? I said, okay, I've never been at a field day event. I don't know what I'm doing, but hey, this is a great opportunity for me to learn. And the GOTA captain was in the hospital. So I ran it myself that day, just trying to figure it out as I went. But the event was held at Mary Knoll Seminary in the Bay Area, a beautiful site on this old oriental-looking seminary with actual monks living there, with this beautiful view of the Santa Clara Valley and no foot traffic. The only people who showed up were people who knew about the event. What I'd like to see next field day, I want to be operating at a shopping center. I want to be operating somewhere where people are walking by, hopefully young people who are active, who will see what we're doing and say, what are you doing? And we can say, hey, isn't radio great? So those are the ideas that I've been working on. The Ham Radio University is the latest, trying to put together the lesson plans. But the other thing I wanted to do here is talk to you, because as I said, I'm not an experienced ham. I'm probably the least experienced ham in the club, but due to my unfortunate hand-raising incident, I've got this job and I'm doing the best I can at it. But I'm hoping you have other ideas that I can take back with me to share with the other clubs about things that you've tried that have worked for your club to help drive membership or to get new hams licensed or to support the new hams. Does anybody willing to step up and share anything with us?
I got one. Yeah, and this isn't so much anything I've tried yet, but the one thing that oh, you want me to come
Yeah,
up?
there's people on TV that would like to see and hear from you as well as me.
All right. So one of the things that that I have been working on is trying to come up with a way to kind of gamify this, because kids are largely they want to have fun.
Earthquake detected. Drop cover. Hold on. Protect yourself. USGS shake alert.
That Menlo Park?
That must be in the Bay Area.
Okay, well, and on that note, no, what I was trying to come up with, and I was talking with some other extras over here that they had an idea where they were, here, let me get out of the screen here, the light's killing me. They came up with a way to create a game using mesh network. And so they had different grid square or different locations. Whenever the person would get to the first one, it would send them a message that would tell them, okay, here's a clue to get to the next one. And kids like games. I mean, we all do, right? And maybe along with that is some kind of semi-technical task. You don't want it to be overwhelming, but I was thinking along the lines of like escape rooms, where they've got to use their head to come up with a solution to some problem. Why is this radio not working? Or something that they could easily figure out and then be able to go to the next step. They like, just like I said, the rest of us, they like games. And so I've been trying to come up with different ideas on how to gamify it, because that's what's going to get young kids involved, because they're all hooked on games. Let's take them out of the, from sitting in front of the computer and their little controller. Let's take them and get them out in the real world. And maybe even along with that is say, hey, find the oldest building in this city, or where did this event happen? That way it's also tying into community as well as, the technology.
I think that's an excellent idea. I've added it to my list, and this is something else I wanted to point out, is that promoting amateur radio doesn't always have to be out of amateur radio. Like you mentioned, Meshtastic is a new, very popular technology among young people, and it is a gateway drug to amateur radio, because once they start operating with radios, then we can start pulling them into other activities that involve radio. So, I ran into problems. I was trying to engage the Aries Races crowd in our county, and I said, hey, could you put my POTA event on your calendar? And they said, no, that has nothing to do with emergency communications. I disagree. I think anytime we get people out operating builds their skill with the radio. I know for a fact that I was always terrified to take a net control role. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna blow it. Then I had to do a Parks on the Air activation. I was at the Great Dismal Swamp National Park in Virginia. And I spotted myself on Parks on the Air, and everybody out there said, there's a Great Dismal Swamp National Park, I want that. And I got buried. And I had to work my way through a gigantic pileup. And what I found is when I got back to the Bay Area, being net control ain't so scary anymore, because if I can deal with that, I can deal with this. So we have a difference of opinion. I applaud what they're doing, focusing on emergency communication. It just means I need to build the ham radio community that they can draw from to get our new emergency communications operators. So, does anybody else have any ideas? Wonderful.
See, it's fun, isn't it?
My wife often gives me gas about talking, but I tell her I have a federal license to talk. So
Very good.
I can talk as much as I want. Just a couple things real quickly. I was part of a group, this was 30 years ago, called Park Junior, Older Amateur Radio Club Junior Division. What happened was an elderly couple, up here, okay. What happened was an elderly couple was asked to teach a ham radio class at Louisville Middle School, and they did that and created 4 or 5 new novices at the time, novices. And it was a sort of, well, then what? And it turned out that Ellie was a retired kindergarten teacher, and she knew what to do with kids. So she started a club that these kids could come to. And they called it the Boulder Amateur Radio Club Junior Division, so they could use parks insurance and all that kind of thing. And they had a meeting every week. And it was truly a club. These kids were elected to positions. There was a president, a vice president, a treasurer, a secretary, all of these kinds of things. And the fact that they were organized, they had to create for every Saturday that we got together some sort of activity. And it could be anything from a fox hunt. We went down and toured the radio facilities at DIA. We did all kinds of things. You talk to anybody, I mean even your local sewage authority, and they'll welcome a group of kids. Absolutely they will. So that worked out really well. My daughter was the 73rd ham to get her license through this group. By the time we moved out, there were over 200 that had gotten their licenses. After 10 years of being part of this group, I tracked down some of the earliest members and did a where are they now kind of thing. And almost all of them had chosen STEM type college work and things like that. One was working for a major gaming company. I mean, amateur radio wasn't just a hobby for these kids, it changed their lives. And it was really important. Now, I talk a lot on my channel. By the way, I'm KE0OG. I write the Ask Dave column for QST and have a channel too. And I tell my people, get it in your mind that as a new ham, you're going to have to do some club shopping. Because you're going to go to a club, and in most places in the United States, you've got multiple choices of clubs. Check them all out. Because some of them are just going to be a bunch of old guys, and that's all they do. They like to be old and sit together. And, or old and go have breakfast or something like that. Find one that seems dynamic. Now, another thing, and this is the one I'll conclude with, there was a ham in Pomona, California, who became a new ham. He couldn't find any club he liked, so he started one. And at first he was the only member, then he started getting all his friends to get their licenses too. And they would come to these meetings every week, and they would do something. They had this huge activities list, and the biggest problem with that club was how fast it was growing. And he did a fantastic job. He didn't see what he wanted, so it was just like you. He went out and made it up. So just a couple ideas.
Well, thank you for that. Actually, I'll throw something else out. Some of you might have wandered by my van where I'm promoting radio. I put together this banner that I hang up when I'm doing the radio to get people drawn in. There's nice bright graphics there. I could tell a story about each one. Thank you. So it tells a story. People will come up and they say, oh, this is about ham radio, and they come talk to me. And this is, again, another source of potential new recruits. And this sign cost me $100, so it's not that expensive. It's going to last for years. If we flip it around, look at the back side. I made it.
Oops. Sorry about that.
Yep. I just set this up because it only cost $20 extra to make it double-sided. So I put this together so I have something on field day that I can put up for reference. And again, it's something I can point people to and show them cool stuff about radio. And it's all about make things colorful, make them visual. If you're doing a radio demo, then I love setting up FT8 and Grid Tracker because you get this beautiful map with all these dotted lines going back and forth, and you can see all these grid squares that you've contacted. So it's very visually appealing, and then again, this is what draws people in. What makes people say, hey, I want to do that. And this is what we're trying to do. We need to get new people in. We need to get them interested. We need to pull them in and train them, get them past the initial hurdles to becoming an amateur radio operator. A lot of things I'm working on right now are the things that slowed me